Moshi Moshi, Spacetic Studio here, and I have yet another tutorial for you. Today we're going to be discussing stylizing, and I'm going to show you how you can go from a more realistic looking anime style to a very cutesy anime style. You can probably tell if you follow me on Instagram that I'm going through a bit of a moe style revival, and we're going to talk a little bit about me finding my style and the types of things that I like to do to manipulate my line art, to kind of give it more of like a bouncy, sort of young, energetic, and very soft and round appearance. And I use a lot of Y2K elements, specifically in the way that I do anatomy now. It's really changed from last year, so hopefully you can use some of these tips as kind of a slider scale to go between like a very cutesy style and then a more realistic anime style. I would say that this tutorial is really more of a discussion, and it is suited to people that may be total beginners that are just starting out, that are wondering how to develop their style, or if you're a more advanced artist and you want to make some aesthetic changes, or you just want to see my thought process behind drawing, then this is a great video for you. And of course, there are always free resources on the free tier of my Patreon. Please go join me over there. It's absolutely free. It's free 99, and I upload all kinds of goodies for you guys, and it's a really good time. So without further ado, let's do it.
Studio.
So I'm employing my good mic so that I don't sound like I'm coming to you from a tuna fish can. On the right are two works that I've done in the last 3 months, and then on the left are two works that I did pretty much mid-pandemic. The line art is very old, so I don't have the Procreate data. But something that you'll notice in my older works is that I'm keeping proportions pretty much the same as they would be on an actual human body. There's not much stylization. This sort of sharper anime face to show an adult human woman is kind of my default. You'll notice it a lot on my drawing of Auri as well. And so this is basically muscle memory. And you'll notice that the two divots sort of differentiate the point of the cheek and the chin, and so they're found primarily where the eye is, and then between the cheekbone and the chin if we're doing a 3/4 view. So you could see my muscle memory, it's literally the same. The important part is those two divots. So things are still being kept soft, very soft and feminine, but you'll notice that these faces feel a lot more pronounced. So again, even though Umeko here is a kid, the divots are clear. You can think of them as two slight half moons. And right away, if you're looking at the work on the right, you'll notice that top right, Gudetama, these cheeks are very pronounced. There's a protrusion in the middle of the face that chibifies the face. The stylistic difference here is that the faces look a lot younger, and you'll notice that in Mari, the chin is actually rounded as well. So it's not just about the protrusion being different, those divots being missing, or rounding the cheek. We can also round the chin. The divot between the cheekbone and the chin, if I want a very pronounced cheek, like somebody has something in their mouth or they're making a face, you can keep the chin relatively sharp and it'll make the protrusion of the cheek look a lot more cartoony. So if I'm using my muscle memory here, this is basically the basic head shape that I use for like a cuter, kind of more moe style. And then I just assess the chin to decide if I want to make any sweeping changes. So do I want to pronounce the chin, or do I want to not accentuate it and soften it significantly? Something you might want to think about is the age of your character. If you want to stylize for everything to be a lot softer, a lot rounder, something that you may need to consider is, would they have more fat on their face? Kids have baby fat, and so if you want a character to look a lot younger and to be very youthful seeming, you may feel that you want to round out other things. I find that leaving a little bit of forehead visible, that sort of like forehead bump, if you will, is not just helpful for understanding where to put all the features on a face, it's also very practical in giving this illusion of cuteness. So if we're looking at my Inktober drawing of Sableye, the reason that she has that like 5 head, or that Gudetama has a more pronounced forehead, is that it changes the balance of the face, and so things are looking a lot rounder. And if we think about it logically, like, that is what makes chibis cute, right? It's the roundness, it's the softness. Something else that you might choose to round out are details, things like horns, eyelashes. You may decide to make the points of the hair softer. If you're doing true moe style, the fingers tend to be quite chubby, and then they end in nails, but the nails are not really like pronounced. In Mari's case, the little cartoon of her on the left of her head has pronounced nails, because the whole point is that she's a demon that has really long nails. But if you look at Gudetama, you'll notice that it's less pronounced, and it's because the moe style, if we're looking at body parts, also retain a fullness and a roundness. And so you can do the same thing with the mouth, the nose. If I'm going cuter, the nose is more of a little dot than a little comma shape. The fingers, accessories, look for any hard edges that you might feel would be better if they were rounded out. So you can play with the way that your audience perceives what you're drawing, in terms of age, in terms of the weight of the character even, because we can go about softening and sharpening, and so that gives us a stylistic change. So you can definitely tell, it's very obvious, the difference between the works on the left and the works on the right. You can see the shift towards bigger head, bigger cheeks, bigger forehead, less detail in the face, less detail even in the hair, childlike, soft moe, very Y2K moe. Now if we're looking at a drawing of Mari from 2019, and we're looking at a drawing of her from earlier in 2024, you'll notice that I've actually gone in the opposite direction. The original drawing of Mari was very cute. It was a lot softer, it was a lot rounder. You can see it in the composition of the shoulders and the legs, specifically in the calves and the knees, and you can see it in the face because originally I had actually completely rounded out the chin, and so the roundness of her hair and the roundness of her lantern pigtails complements this very soft line work here. And so even in her hands, everything is soft and everything is round, and it gives Mari the appearance of having a very youthful demeanor. So I've slowed this footage down, but if we just trace over the original one, we notice that there's no 2 divots that I was using before to give the face a bit more maturity. It's almost a perfect circle. There's very little delineation between the side of the head and the 3/4 view, and the space between the cheek and the chin. And so this almost gives the impression that this is kind of a chibi of Mari, but it's not. We're just accentuating roundness. If you're going for a cuter style and you want a more sort of youthful appeal to your characters, you're going to soften the lines. On the other hand, though, if we take a look at Mari from 2024, I've gone in the opposite direction. I've refined her. So Mari is a college-age demon who is masquerading as a human woman. And so we want to make her look college-aged. So what we'll do is we're going to use that principle of making the face appear more mature. We're going to put the divots in the original place that I had them before. And like, divots is not by any means a technical term. Like, you're not gonna go to an art class and they're gonna say, where did you put the divots? It's essentially my way of rationalizing when you look at a face and you want to do the slider scale between a youthful half moon shape and a more mature face. What am I gonna accentuate? And the answer is, for me anyway, the cheeks and the chin. And so getting the muscle memory of where those delineations go, those little divots to show the composition of the face, are essential. So for 2024 Mari, it's not like we've gone and given her like a chiseled jaw. She's not mogging us by any means, but you'll notice that there is more structure to her head. I've still kept the softness. I've obscured the forehead with the bangs because, like I was saying, a big forehead really indicates a more youthful demeanor. It changes the proportions of the face. And so by obscuring it, she doesn't look overly cartoony the way that she does in the colored and rendered picture that I showed you earlier that I made, because the goal there in the rendered one was to make her cartoony looking. And so we haven't really like matured the face too much, but there's still a clear conception of where her cheek and chin are. And so instead of looking very young, she still retains a youthful sort of appearance, but it's less pronounced. I like this rendition of Mari because it's using a mix of soft and sharp, which you absolutely can do. Things can retain a very cutesy sort of look to them while still accentuating that even though she's cute, this is still an adult woman. And so the delineation really lies in the anatomy. The difference between calf, knee, ankle, a more pronounced thigh. She has a more pronounced breast. Things like her horns or her accessories or her lantern still retain softness, but then there's sharpness in things like the nails, the specificity of like the band-aids, the fishnets, the conceptually correct construction of the sandal. And so you can kind of push and pull on this slider scale between cutesy and more realistic until you feel like you've captured the essence of the character that you're going for. If we want to look at a different extreme example in the other direction, Kana, because she's more heavy set, everything is round. There is no delineation in the face. And so in this case, the softness helps us to get across the point that she is heavier set. Everything in her design has a roundness to it, because it's not just about roundness showing youth. It could also be about roundness showing heft. You're not going to be mogging us, right? If you're 200 pounds, and I know because I've been 200 pounds and I was certainly not mogging. And so again, this is complete half moon. Everything has been softened. And so we've sort of seen the slider scale. The photos that I had showed you that were very old of Umeko and the spider adopt are sort of at the extreme end of what I would consider more realistic. Those lines are a lot sharper. They have a more mature look. Kana is on the other end of the spectrum, the softest possible. And in between are many, many iterations of Y2K Moe. And it doesn't even have to be Y2K Moe. Like we saw with the 2024 Mari, there's a lot of ways that you can manipulate lines to tell a story about how you want your character to be perceived. So let's do it in practice. We'll use basically the same pose, and on the right we'll do it softer, more moe style, and then on the left we'll do what I consider kind of like my default. And so again, I'm going to be paying attention to what can I accentuate to make things softer, rounder, cuter, and then on the left, where can I refine the face, specifically in the side of the head and the jaw, so that it gives the impression of a more mature / realistic appearance. And so right away, I'm accentuating the cheek by putting that divot between the cheek and the chin so that your line is rounded. but it's still going in, because a teeny tiny chin and a big cheek, the big cheek is making everything look bigger because the chin in comparison is very tiny. And so we'll do big forehead. And you'll probably notice right away that actually the person on the left here that we're drawing, their cheek seems a lot less large, even though we're kind of doing more or less the same construction. And it's because I've given a more mature appearance by accentuating in the 3/4 view how the cheek becomes a chin and then how the forehead becomes a cheek. And so those are the divots that I'm talking about. And you can kind of play with these and see how you feel. If I want a very mature looking character, I might do sort of a smoother and longer and more pronounced face, because I find that it gives an air of maturity. Other things that you may want to change the shape and size of are the eyes. For a more mature looking character, I tend to do longer eyes to keep everything looking very big and open and cute and inviting. We'll do bigger eyes, rounder eyes, for sure. We'll give her a little bob, just so that we don't really have to like worry too much about the hair. And you'll notice that I've foreshortened her forehead because I'm hiding it with the bang. It's kind of the same visual trick that I did with Mari in 2024. The illustration is still objectively cute, but I'm hiding part of the forehead. And so a more mature head looks longer because we want to see all aspects of the face. If you're leaning into an almost chibi adjacent sort of look, you will foreshorten the forehead and use broader and rounder shapes. And so the person on the right ends up looking a lot cuter than on the left. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed. I hope we're all feeling very kawaii, very demure. The main channel video is indeed coming. I'm working on more content right now for Instagram, so consider this a buffer while we wait. I just released 2 new art projects. Please go check them out. Please follow me on Instagram. You can check me out on all platforms via the link in my bio. You can check out the second channel if you want to yap with me and spend some time kind of seeing how I spend my days. It's a good time. I'm a mortician apprentice. We learn a lot about dead bodies. And if you have any more ideas for a tutorial that you'd like, please let me know down below. Again, Patreon, free $99. I have bases on there if you're an absolute beginner and you're feeling a bit stuck in a rut, or if you just want the moral support of having a base, use them, trace over them. They're totally there for you to do whatever you want with them. And again, free goodies all the time. Almost every day I post to Patreon. There's a lot of content on there. And that's it. If you like this video, then squingle that boingle. You can pingle that dingle. You can pungle that grungle. What else can you do? You can glungle on your gidgeon till you hinge. That's terrible. Okay. I love you. Goodbye.